Welcome, boys and girls, to a math lesson. I thought we needed to do some review of 2D and 3D shapes. We studied those before, a couple of months before we were out, had a test on it, and pretty much everybody knows their 2D and 3D shapes. But I know there's been a few kids having questions on some of the math sheets, so I thought we could review just a little bit. So I've got a chart here with all the names, and I thought I would hold up some of them. We could practice some of them together in a little bit. But let's look at the 2D shapes. The 2D shapes are flat shapes. They're two-dimensional. And I've got my paper plates with my shapes on it, and then I've got some of the shapes themselves that I can hold up. So let me grab those. So the first one that was on math that some people have been having a question is trapezoid. So if you'll recall, this is a trapezoid, and no matter which way you turn it, it's still a trapezoid. We had talked about how it looks like a cup or a boat, and like this, it kind of looks like a tent, but a trapezoid has one set of parallel lines, which means those lines are the same distance apart, always. But these lines are not the same distance apart. Those are closer there and those are further apart. So this is a trapezoid, and I have it in this form too as well. So let me hold it so you can see it a little bit better. So that's our trapezoid. All right, so remember that's our trapezoid. Then I think most of you know our rectangle. Rectangle, you learned that probably before you came to school, when you were in preschool, if some of you were. Parallelogram is one that some of you might miss occasionally. A parallelogram kind of looks like a rectangle that somebody stepped on just a little bit, and it's kind of slanted. But the reason why it's called a parallelogram is this line is parallel to this line, which means it's the same distance apart. This line is parallel to that line. So some people, when they look at it, they say, well, that's kind of like a diamond, but it's a parallelogram, all right? So trapezoid, rectangle, parallelogram. I know you know this one, the square. And most of you might remember this is the hexagon. A hexagon has 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it has 6 vertices. Remember, the vertices are our corners or our points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just to kind of review, I guess I didn't mention that the trapezoid has 4 vertices. It has 4 sides. And the rectangle, it has 4 vertices, and it's got 4 sides as well. Parallelogram, 4 sides and 4 vertices. All right, and then the square, 4 vertices, 4 sides, and square, those 4 lines are the same distance apart. And we were just talking about the hexagon, how it has 6 vertices and 6 sides, and each line is the same distance apart as well. We know the good old triangle. Sometimes triangles can be skinny and long, but as long as a triangle has 3 sides and 3 vertices, then we would call that a triangle. And then we have the circle, and the circle is just your flat shape. Don't get that confused with your sphere. All right, let's see. I had shown you the 2D shape of the trapezoid. I don't have a lot of these solid 2D shapes, and then that's the square. Here I found a parallelogram. Kind of looks like a diamond. Turn it like that. You could turn it this way, like I was holding earlier. So that's our parallelogram. And then I've got a hexagon for us. Remember, we worked with those too. Let's talk about some 3D shapes. The first one is our cone, and that is just a picture of a cone, but I have cones here for you to look at. I have some that you can actually see through. So this is our cone. No matter which way you turn it, it's got 1 vertices, and it's got a face down here. And here's one that you can't see through. It's a wooden one like the ones we've used at school, so that's our cone. The next one we have is the rectangular prism. I always say, remember, it looks kind of like a long tissue box like we would have at school at the sink. And I do have some of those as well. Here is a rectangular prism that you can see through. Rectangular prism. I've got one that you can't see through right here. And a rectangular prism has, if you'll notice, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices. Those are the corners. So, rectangular prism. Then, I know you all know what that is, right? That's the cube. I've got a cube that we can see through. It almost looks just like this one. And I have one that's made out of wood that you can't see through. But I thought these ones that you could see through are pretty neat. A cube. We'll hold our cube here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces, just like the rectangular prism. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices, just like the rectangular prism. But this is our cube, because remember, a cube is just made of all these squares put together. The rectangular prism, it's got squares on the ends and then rectangles throughout. So again, that was our cube. Let's look at our cylinder. Our cylinder kind of looks like a can of vegetables, or maybe a soda or a Pepsi can drink. I've got a couple of those for us to look at. Now, a cylinder can be short and fat, or it can be tall and slim like that. And if you'll notice, the cylinder has 2 faces. There are no vertices on it. There are no points or corners to it. Everything's just round on it. So that's our cylinder. And here, that is Blue Magic, if you'll recall. When the C makes that S sound, that is Blue Magic. All right, so let's look at the sphere. Sometimes people get confused when they see a sphere and they say that's a circle. I don't know if you can see this on camera that well, but there's a little bit of light on this one. But I do have a couple of spheres for us to look at. Here is a clear sphere. Some people say, well, that's a ball, but we call them spheres. It's a 3D shape, no corners, no faces, no sides, anything like that. And there's a wooden version of our sphere. All right, so I hope that helps you. So what I'm going to do is probably send a review sheet with the email so that it'll have all of the shapes on it and the names of it, and then you can kind of practice with those. All right, I hope this helps you.